500 Open Tabs. I'm Kaveh Taharian.
And I'm Hannah Hillam. And we're back with another episode.
Yay, Hannah. This is really exciting. It is the week of Valentine's Day, which I know is so deeply important to you.
And I hold it over my partner's head if he doesn't do it exactly how I want him to.
You're like, you demand huge displays of affection, going to fancy restaurants, getting dressed up in high heels, all things that you love.
Things I'm so comfortable in high heels. Love them. I can't wait to go to a what do people do? French fancy restaurant or Italian restaurant too. Oh yeah.
Don't propose on Valentine's Day. Who does that?
People who want people to watch them get proposed to. Nothing is worse. Hey, look, I'm not going to try to yuck someone's yum, but
I'm here to yuck. I'll yuck everything.
Public proposals, take it somewhere else. Well, I'm not here to watch your love or whatever. Like, I don't care. I'm not here for that. Yeah. It's like, oh, cool. I'm just trying to be at the aquarium. I was at the aquarium watching a bunch of manatees.
Trying to be at the aquarium.
So, this is a true story. The Atlanta Aquarium. I was watching an animal show, and then the freaking aquarium person was like, and now we have a special thing. And I was like, this better not be a proposal.
Did the manatee propose to the other manatee?
No, it was just two people. And then they hugged, and he picked her up and spun her, and everyone's like, yay! And I'm like, I paid to see some sea creatures. I didn't pay to see two people I don't know kiss. Anyway,
they're not clubby.
Hot.
They're not lizard people and cow people kissing. Now that I would pay money for.
I would pay unspeakable amounts of money to watch that.
Question: is the Atlanta Zoo? Am I not mistaken that has a whale shark?
Yeah, I think that's what that's what we were looking at.
Yeah,
we were looking at the whale sharks, not manatees. It was big and gray. I just guessed. I couldn't remember. This was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I remember reading this because I know that there's only a couple of aquariums in the world that have a whale shark, and I think Atlanta's one of them, and I think somewhere in Japan is the other one. I can't remember where.
They're really cool.
I've always wanted to see one in real life.
It's a good aquarium, inexplicably, like just in the middle of the city. Great aquarium.
That's awesome.
I don't know. I grew up near the Monterey Bay Aquarium.
Yeah, so Monterey Bay Aquarium. I love that one too.
Best in the world.
Yeah.
But like when I'm at an aquarium that's like landlocked, I'm like, I don't.
That is weird. Yeah.
I don't know
that's
about
so
this.
strange. Yeah, you're not even by the water.
Like, what are you doing? You can't just go out to the like dock and look at the manatee. Why is everything a manatee? Look at the otters. Coming up manatee for Hillam today.
My tab today is actually about manatees.
I'm gonna make it all up. They're big and gray.
Good.
And they propose to their loved ones.
They do, because manatees mate for life. I don't know if that's true. I'm just making that up. Spreading misinformation.
At this point, anything anyone says could be true.
It's true.
All right?
Yeah. Speaking of truth, this week you're up first. What have you got for us as far as your tab?
Well, I'm about to tell you something you've never heard.
Oh, yeah? Is it a yes, we will produce the thing that you've pitched to us?
Actually, we read through what you sent us.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're going to have to decline.
Yes, I did read your email. Yes, I did read your script. Yeah. Yes, we would like to publish your material.
Yeah, actually, here's a bunch of money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. That's probably the thing I haven't heard. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Your script about a manatee love triangle is going to do great in Hollywood.
No, my script is about the Clavi love digging tunnels together to meet in the middle of America so they can kiss.
In the middle.
And it appeals to middle America because it literally takes place in, I don't know, is
Cleveland.
Oklahoma the center of the United States?
Gun to head, I wouldn't
Kansas? Somewhere around there. South Dakota? One of them. So what's your tab for this week, Hannah?
All right. So my tab, if you remember last week at the Mark Twain episode, I talked about how I got like deep into this rabbit hole of spite, spite hole.
Which you and I just call a hole.
It's just a hole. Everything's a spite, fill in the blank.
That's a given. That's redundant. Redundant's not the right word, but it's repetitive. I don't know what the word is.
Make your own truth. Okay?
Exactly. There was somebody wrote this where they were like, it was a Chinese person. I can't remember who it was, but they were like, oh, I ate Chinese food all the time growing up, but we just called it food. Right?
Yeah.
That's like a spite hole to you is just a hole.
It's just a hole.
Yeah.
Look, a hole's a hole, as they say. So I got reading about like the right to light in England, which is this law that like prevents you from building a house in front of someone's window, which apparently was happening a lot. And it would
I wish that would come back here in LA.
You out of every the law. Sorry, I was like, you would hate that.
Yeah.
Honestly, I thought about you a lot while reading these
with the spite hole.
With all the spite. So I got reading what like these spite windows where there's a law where you cannot build in front of someone's light. Mm-hmm. Like they have the right to have illumination or whatever.
The right to light. Yeah, I love it.
And they have a law in England and Japan. It's like called the right to sunshine.
We need sunshine now more than ever, especially with people, like, all these kids on their phones. I mean, but in all seriousness, it's like people don't go outside and they don't get enough vitamin D or sunlight, and like that leads to a lot of health problems. Yeah, you need sun.
I don't know if people know this, but like we're also an animal. Like, we're not just like some higher species that can do without all this stuff. We got to go touch dirt and get sunburned. No,
or in your case, lick dirt and rocks.
I don't lick dirt and rocks. That was my sister.
Oh, you said you licked or you ate a bunch of snow and then got dysentery or whatever the past couple of weeks ago.
I did eat a bunch of snow and there was dysentery-like symptoms in my household, but the two are not related.
Unrelated. It's just a coincidence.
I do crave dirt sometimes, though.
I crave dirt, but only in listening to the Alice in Chains record because I love Alice in Chains. Or as Sarah likes to call them, my friend Allison.
And she is in Chains. And her last name is Chains.
Chains, exactly.
Allison Chains.
Chains.
I've never heard her stuff. What's she like?
Oh, she's my favorite from the 90s personally. But that's a whole other series of tabs.
I like the guy Led Zeppelin. He's fun.
Pretty good. Led?
Yeah. Weird name.
Yeah. Short for Ledward.
Short for Ledward Zeppelin.
Ledward Zeppelin was born in Germany.
Germany.
No, anyway, sorry.
Zeppelin is the last name.
We need sunshine.
Zeppelin is a last name. It was named after someone with the last name Zeppelin. Doesn't matter. Okay. Take a big deep breath of air. So we need sunshine. We have a right to have light. And in the U.S., we haven't really had issues with this because our property laws kind of don't.
We have issues with this because the people who build are so rich that it doesn't even matter and it just obliterates everybody in the process. And people who don't have money have no voice in the system. Anyway,
it's true. Sorry. Why don't you just have money?
Yeah.
It's all you have to do.
It's true.
Look, like I said, I'm coming in hot today. It's fine. Yeah. I am who I am.
Because of all that sunlight. That's why you're coming in hot.
So reading about right to light then brought me to reading about spite houses, which I mentioned last week.
Right to spite? Why isn't that a protected law?
That's going to be the name of our first album. Because we're starting a band.
You were asking this earlier. What's the name of our band? But Right to Spite, I think, should be the name of our record. I agree.
Yeah, Right to Spite. And it's just us complaining about neighbors and
it's just a podcast. That's all it is. Yeah.
Should we rename this Right to Spite?
Right to Spite.
That was like somebody was like, for somebody was like, oh, their book tour was like, what like motivates you? What gives you, and I'm like, it's fully spite.
Spite. We've said this over and over again. Yeah.
Over and over. I don't do this for myself. Are you kidding?
No.
I don't do anything. I do it to spite myself. I don't care.
Exactly.
I don't care about me.
I don't care about these ducks.
I think we've said that. If you guys have a bingo card going sometime in the future and you're listening to this, you just check off that I don't care about these ducks quote, okay?
Yeah.
All right. This led me to spite structures and spite buildings. And I got really into that. And that's where I branched off to the Mark Twain thing. Because that caught my interest. And I was like, this is way better. And now I'm back to spite houses. And so I was like, I'll talk about spite houses today.
Great.
I'm not gonna.
Oh.
Don't worry.
Damn.
I mean, worry, but like, don't worry about this. I'll get back to it at some point, probably.
Okay.
But I was talking to my mom last night. And she's like, well, what are you doing your tab on tomorrow? Because she likes to know, like, make a conversation. And what are you doing?
Nice.
I'm researching.
Your mom's interested. That's cool.
My mom is similar to me in that she really likes chasing facts. And, like, she would have made an amazing, like, private investigator.
That's cool.
Or just an investigator.
Write a story about your mom as, like, a hard-hitting noir detective.
She would have been great. She would have destroyed the competition, too.
That's awesome.
I mean, this is a compliment, Mom.
This is not too late. You should just maybe she can have another career, like later in the twilight of her life.
Just become like a dog, hard-boiled detective.
Yeah.
Anyway, my mom, I told her, I was like, yeah, I'm going to talk about spite houses. Houses that are built to just piss people off, and for the sole purpose of revenge and spite. like getting in the way of their neighbor or, blocking a street, which I'll talk about this some other time.
I'm not going to say the thing I was going to say. Continue.
So I told my mom, and she was like, oh, I know about, have you ever heard about this? And she gives me the article I'm going to talk about today, because my mom, she got her degree in American history, right? And her emphasis was in San Francisco. And so she, of course, was like, I know exactly the story here. And she sent me an article about the Crocker Spite Fence. So
Crocker Spite Fence.
The Crocker Spite Fence. And it's not a spite house. It's somehow way worse. And I'll get into it. So shout out to my mom. Thanks for the idea. She's always got cool facts about San Francisco. You should go. Everybody should go there someday with her, and she'll tell you literally everything.
When you say the Crocker Spite Fence, I just think about those like horizontal wooden plank fences that they always say, like the gentrification walls that are around everything. Yes. Is that sort of what it is?
It's worse.
No.
This is like rampant. No, it's like rampant gentrification. If gentrification just meant colonizing, yeah, we'll get there. So here we are.
One could argue that's what it is. But anyway, yes, continue.
Nobody really belongs where they are.
I certainly don't belong on this podcast, and yet I'm here.
Yet you come every week.
Nevertheless.
You persist. So the article she sent me is called "The Man Who Built a 40-Foot Spite Fence Around His Neighbor's Home" by Jake Rawson for Mental Floss. And the story starts with the classic...
By the way, I love that your mom's reading Mental Floss. I think that's like a fun little throwaway detail that you just have.
Here's the thing about my mom. We're getting into mom lore here, but my mom reads everything.
That's cool.
Like when I was a kid, I'd be like, Mom, and instead of a screen, she'd just be like devouring a book. Like she would read through like a 500-page book in 2 days.
No way.
She can read so fast. It's absurd. Anyway,
I can read that fast. I just can't retain anything after I read it that fast.
Same. I'll read a paragraph 8 times and be like, I don't even know what I'm reading.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't.
If you're just talking about strictly reading the text, I can do that. Yeah. I just can't retain it.
Yeah. No, I can't read anymore. Anyway, my parents have just so many books. My mom was an avid reader, and so she still does. She loves to read. Anyway, where was I? Oh,
you were talking about mental floss.
I was.
I also don't retain information when it's spoken to me.
And you know what? Neither do our listeners. I'm pretty certain. All of us are we're just an echo chamber of info.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. 40-foot fence.
Whatever. So
Crocker.
What a Crocker.
Crock of fence.
The story starts with a classic American tale of immigration and hard work. And in 1848, Germany, as you pointed out in the episode you did about Charlie Day. Charlie Day.
Charles Del Shaw.
Charles Del Shaw was really having a rough time in the 1840s, 50s, and 60s.
Yeah.
A lot of starvation, crop failure, stuff like that.
A failed revolutionary attempt.
Yeah, a lot of and it wasn't even Germany. It was just like a bunch of different kingdoms.
Prussia.
Just Russia with a P.
Yep.
So there's an immigrant called Nicholas Young, and he's from Germany, and he moves to San Francisco to find a better life. And he is a mortician. So German mortician immigrant. So if that can tell you anything about the strength of his character, just know this guy is hardcore. Okay?
Or just like a dude who's seen a lot and is not
seen
by a lot of things.
He's dug around in some dead bodies to make him look good. It's just with those. Look, I'm not trying to judge morticians. I'm just saying morticians have like a hardcoreness to them that I don't think I could.
You're literally looking at dead bodies all day long every day.
Yeah,
it's
every day.
I don't imagine that doesn't affect you in some way, or at least it doesn't attract a certain kind of person.
Right. So it attracts somebody who can, hold his own.
The subtext here being like, I could not be a mortician because I would cry every day if I was looking at dead bodies.
So this guy, Nicholas Young, moves to San Francisco. Yeah. He works hard for years to build this mortuary and this business, and he becomes really prosperous. And, the American dream achieved. He gets to buy this piece of land on top of this hill called California Street Hilltop, and it's got a beautiful view of the bay, right where the Golden Gate Bridge will be someday. He can see right over there. He can see, it's just it's gorgeous. And that beautiful San Francisco air, there's nothing beats it.
Sure, that air was even better back then.
Oh, can you imagine?
I cannot. I've never experienced it. No.
And it was above the fog line, so it was always.
Oh yeah, it's really high up.
Nice. Yeah. So there's this hill, and he bought this plot of land up there, and he and his family lived up there. They had to do a hike, or kind of hike up and down. But he didn't mind that. Yeah, he was like, "This is worth it. Better than starving to death in Germany." And he and his wife Rosina and their children had this little cottage, beautiful garden. He was also a gardener. Nice. Which I love the idea of a mortician leaving work and then going home and nurturing a garden. You know what I mean?
That's a nice that's the way of thinking about it. Yeah, you're balancing life with death.
Yeah. Lots of beautiful views, all of that. So their life was great for a couple decades. It went, beautiful. And then the 1870s rolled around and the cable cars came around. And
the cable cars.
The cable cars came and they're great, and they could get people up hills way easier because, if you don't know, San Francisco is very hilly.
Quite hilly.
Like, you go there. You already know, you're from up there, so it's like you go there and you're like, "Well, cool. This street has stairs. I didn't know the sidewalk was stairs." Like, you'll be walking and you'll be like, "Guess I'm climbing stairs to the top of this street."
The real test of a San Francisco Bay Area person is, can you drive stick shift in the city?
I was just about to say, can you drive stick in the city?
I can. First of all, most people are like, stick? What's that?
I can drive stick, but not in the city.
It's scary, but you can do it.
That lurch, like when you when you roll backwards while you're shifting. No, it's like, oh, I might hit something. Or going over those crests, you're like, is someone
about to fly into the air and then knock someone out?
Yeah. It's a crazy city. Anyway, so California Street Hill became very accessible and everyone wanted some of it because it was like gorgeous,
Yeah.
And in this time, there was an economic downturn in this 1870s. Like before the Great Depression, this was the worst we'd had it. The 1870s. Yeah.
I wonder what caused that.
Yeah. Well.
Weird.
It's like things go in cycles, Mm-hmm. So the rich were extremely rich in the 1870s. It's what they're called the Gilded Age.
Oh, right.
Yeah, because everything was covered in fancy gilded. You just picture these like, what is it? William Randolph Hearst, people like that who are just so wealthy that they almost don't know what to do with their money, and they pour it into like gigantic. So they're like,
projects. I'm gonna include myself in the government to make sure that the government's not spending enough.
Buy the presidency.
Yeah.
How about that?
While my business collapses because somebody else did it cheaper.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I love this country.
Yeah. I love
tech. It. I love tech. And just like the tech billionaires nowadays who pretty much run San Francisco and decide who gets to live there by passing laws with the local government, it was a home to, again, giant capitalists who ran the railroads back in the day. So you've heard of like Rockefeller and all those people.
But
of course. The West Coast had their own set of like robber baron railroad people.
Yeah.
That we called the Big Four. That were called the Big Four. Yeah. And it wasn't just a gigantic number 4. Like I pictured the first time I read it.
That's the first building that they made on top of California Hill.
Just a big, it's like Sesame Street style. The lead number of the day is 4.
Count Dracula was the architect.
And this is
I want to move to San Francisco.
Again, add that to your list of impressions that are good.
Jot that down. Thank you.
So these West Coast robber barons were known as the Big Four. So you got Mark Hopkins, Marky Mark Hopkins, Collis Huntington, which
Collis is his first name.
Collis, which is like, don't
call us back,
or don't, psycho. His nephew Henry Huntington. He comes with this huge Huntington family who kind of had their fingers in a lot of pies. His nephew Henry Huntington established the Huntington Library in L.A.
Love the Huntington Library.
Me too.
I actually do love it.
No, same. It's awesome. They have a huge copy of Aristotle's Masterpiece, which is where I saw.
Oh, nice.
Where I got to read the online version of it. Anyway, and Leland Stanford, who you recognize the name.
Famously
Stanford.
Started Berkeley.
Berkeley, yeah, and UCLA somehow. It was weird. He started Stanford.
Huge fan of public universities.
Oh yeah, and last and certainly least, we have William Crocker, who is the biggest douchebag in this story.
Bill Crock.
Will Crock. Billy Crocky.
Billy Crocky.
Crock.
Bill Crock.
Bill Crock. I like how if you went back to the first episode, we still did this. We're still doing this.
Not a good job, you mean?
I wouldn't say that. We're professional.
Sure.
I didn't freak out.
Professional volunteers, as you pointed out.
Text right off. Okay. So William Crocker was this piece of garbage. Just the rich, so rich. And he made his money from the railroads because like a decade earlier, the railroads from the east and the west finally like kissed right in the middle.
Met in the middle and kissed like the Clavi.
Met in the middle and kissed in Utah. That was always what we learned in school. It was like, and we're the place they put the railroads together at. And it's like, cool. Ooh. They touched tips in Utah.
They were docking in Utah.
Real.
They're like, the West Coast railroad tracks are a lot thinner than the East Coast railroad tracks.
They were soaking in Utah. That's what we should be saying. I rebuke.
Dear Lord, that's the worst image ever. I'm sorry for that.
I've thought of way worse things in the last 10 minutes than that.
I know, but we didn't say them for our audiences. Now audiences are thinking about docking railroad tracks. Continue.
Anyway, the tracks met in the middle, and these
railroad barons are all hot and bothered now.
They're all like, they're all watching as they hammer in the last thing, and the moment they hammer that railroad together, they all group jizz.
In their jeans.
In their denim jeans.
They collectively cream jeans. A lot of context before this, yeah.
That's what's on the Utah State Quarter. It is.
We likes to cream jeans.
Hold on.
The cream jeans crescent. Sorry, the cream jeans crest.
It's just a pair of jeans.
Oh, covered in semen.
Just soaked in it. Okay.
Soaking.
Soaking. No,
okay.
The Utah State Quarter, it has the little promontory, or like, what is it called? The golden spike. The golden spike.
From when they docked together. Interesting. That's cool.
From when they docked, yeah. So when they released that quarter, we were like, cool.
Sweet.
We're just the meeting point of two trains.
Yeah,
Great.
Seriously.
There aren't beautiful vistas to be seen here. There aren't rock formations that are never anywhere else on Earth. But yeah, put that golden spike on there. I didn't realize I'm still mad about this. Why would they just put arches? Like, have you seen Southern Utah? It's gorgeous.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Let's put a symbol of capitalist greed. I mean, fine. Railroads are fine. Okay, we can edit this out.
I'm gonna say, hold on.
It's fine.
You're gonna talk shit on
I
trains
love trains
now.
I love trains. I'm coming out for trains. But the thing is that that's the. Anyway.
Trains will allow us to see arches more easily. That's probably.
There you go.
The well-intentioned.
I just got really upset.
The golden docking point was penetrated by a golden stake.
The trains touched tips, and the bunch of people made a bunch of money off of it.
Okay, good. We made it through.
Just so much money, and these big four were like,
let's celebrate.
They changed their jeans. They went back, so they have a lot of money, and so William Crocker in particular, and these guys would pretty much go over to China and be like, hey, we'll pay you almost nothing to come build these railroads for us. And a lot of Chinese immigrants came. These laborers, mostly men, came and they built the railroad. And then they ended up settling Chinatown, which
was Crocker specifically the guy that was like known for bringing the Chinese immigrants over? Oh, interesting. Yes. I didn't know he was the one.
Guess it pissed off a lot of labor unions in the area because they're like, we want those jobs, and he's like, no, I'm not paying you what you're worth.
He's like, I'm not paying anybody a living wage.
I'm paying these guys what they're not worth, or I'm not paying these guys what they're worth either. So
he's not paying anybody what anybody's worth,
right? And he had plenty of money, as we know. I know it's hard to imagine now that a billionaire could have endless money and still not pay people what they're worth, but back then, this is what the case was. This, yeah.
Yeah, thank God we got past that.
Oh, thank goodness. No, I bet people aren't pissing
into jars while they're working.
While they're delivering Amazon orders. It's fine. We're not in late stage capitalism. Anyway, so William Crocker brought all these Chinese laborers over, and they built the railroad. They ended up settling Chinatown. So of course, with this money, what does he do? He just sees this new hill that you can now go up, and he's like, all these guys are like, we want the land on this hill because look at the views and look, it's perfect. And they just start kind of like dicing it, like slicing up the hill and picking out plots of land. And all the while, poor Nicholas Young and family are like, oh man, this was our beautiful little
private
spot.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even like middle-class people living there. It was the ultra-wealthy. And so Nicholas's little cottage was soon dwarfed by mansion upon mansion upon mansion. Just massive, overboard mansions. Built on the backs of underpaid laborers during an economic downturn, during an economic crisis. So they didn't endear themselves to anybody. So...
Right. Famously, we refer to them in history, as you said, as robber barons.
Robber barons. And I really do think we need to bring that term back.
I agree.
Because it's happening again. Okay, so of course, these robber barons all kind of had this weird, like...
lack of empathy?
Oh, well, yeah, they don't have that either. Of course not. They had this rivalry with each other. Like a kind of a quiet, like, oh, he's building a big house up there. And so Crocker was like...
What you call rivalry, I call sexual tension.
Foursome. The big foursome. Yeah.
They're all just 69ing each other on top of California Hill. And then they roll down the hill afterwards.
They roll. Yeah. Holding hands.
Well, then two groups of 69ing people rolling down the hill?
No, it's like
while they hold
wheel.
Hands?
They're like a wheel.
Oh, I see. This is very important. We need to figure out the logistics of this.
This is the second time we've tried to figure out logistics of 69ing.
You're like, and that is how kink.com came to be in the center of San Francisco.
That's where the Folsom Street Fair originated. Yeah. Anyway.
Rivalry.
I lost
rivalry building houses.
These people are building these giant mansions, and Crocker was like, nah, absolutely not. I will not be outdone. I'm going to build the biggest, most palatial mansion on the tippy top of this hill, right above everybody else. Try to get as tall as he could get, buy the highest piece of land he could find. And he wanted to build this tower that was 75 feet tall that he could go up into and like look at the city and like see the goings on.
Literally an ivory tower for himself.
Literally an ivory tower. Yeah. And He had this big plan of like, I'm going to build this palace and this tower. And he starts building right next to Nicholas Young. Right next to him. So there's Young's house. And then the rest of the block belonged to Crocker. And Young was like, well, I'm not going to sell my place. I've been here for 20 years.
Yeah. Eat shit, Crocker.
And Crocker was like,
eat a crock of shit.
Yeah. Eat a crock of... I don't have a joke.
Sorry, did that one break your brain somehow?
somehow that's the one. So Nicholas was like, what that? Well, I hate all these people. I just want to embalm bodies and garden. Like, why are these...
This guy's my kind of guy.
Oh, you're going to love this dude. Again, I thought about you a lot during this.
Nice.
I will say that. Especially with the spite houses, because there was one guy who was like, there's too much construction outside. I'm literally filling this alleyway with a house. He blocked off an alleyway with a new house so that he didn't have to hear construction. And I was like, oh, come
awesome.
on.
I wish I had money. I wish I could do that. God. So much noise in this neighborhood. Oh my God. Anyway, continue. Sorry.
So Crocker sees things in money. So he's like, money will buy this guy. No problem. I have enough money to buy whatever I want, and I'll buy him out. Wrong. Nicholas Young was like, no way, dude. I was here.
Yeah.
And over and over, he's like,
what?
Seriously, he's like,
money doesn't work?
Well, he comes face to face with this stubborn German immigrant who worked so hard to get where he was, and he is not fazed. He's unfazed. And Crocker's like, okay. So he comes back with another offer, higher. And he's like, surely he won't turn this down. And Young was like, I don't want that. No, I'm staying here. And this went back and forth for like months. And Young did not budge. And he would like harass Crocker and be like, how about this much? And then Crocker would be like, okay, maybe this much. And he's like, no, I don't want any of it. And he'd like lead him on. So like Nicholas Young would be like, well, how about $1 million? And he's like, how about $500,000? And he's like, no, no, not $1 million either. I don't want to sell it. Like he would just like lead him on. It was really funny.
Wasting his time. I love it.
Wasting his time, getting him all wound up. So Crocker was like, I don't know what to do. I need this piece of land to finish my giant mansion. And so he ordered his workers who were blowing up with dynamite. They were blowing up some of the craggy rocks that were on the land. He's like, just aim that debris right over there.
Piece of shit.
And this debris went toward Young's house, hit the house, damaged it. But of course, Young was completely unfazed. And he doubled down. He was like, you're going to throw rocks at my house? I will never leave here. Over my dead body. And Crocker was boggled by the fact that this guy was indifferent to money, indifferent to threats. So he doubled his last offer to $250,000, which at the time was, and
hold on, like, this is what, 1870, let's say.
Oh, so no, sorry. This is I did the math already. So
you did do it already. Okay.
I'll give you $12,000, and at the time that was $250,000.
That's it.
And yeah, and Young, of course, said, no, I'm not selling my house to you.
Yeah.
And they would get into arguments, and Crocker was it was like driving him insane that he couldn't have exactly what he wanted. So people were like, yeah, Young was also like poking the hornet's nest. And it's like, I don't care what Young did. He's in the right, and I'm always going to side with this guy.
Yeah, I don't care.
Who cares? So finally, after months and months and months of a stalemate, Crocker was like, fine. If I can't enjoy your land, neither will you. Ugh. So he hires a crew and spends $72,000 in today's money to build a 40-foot tall wooden fence surrounding 3 sides of Young's home. So he just had one view. And it blocked sunlight, it blocked air, and the view of the bay, and his garden died. Everything wilted. They got no fresh air. It got stuffy and muggy. It was like being at the bottom of a well, they said.
This is literally the plot of Who Shot Mr. Burns, where he's like, oh, I need to be in control of all the power of the city. So he makes the sun blocker.
The sun? Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
And then they're like, who shot him? It's like everybody was a suspect wanting to kill him.
Because he had no friend. Everyone wanted him dead.
Yeah.
I'm going to send you a picture of the Crocker spite fence. This is so the spite fence is highlighted. So there's that's not even Crocker's mansion. That's a different house. His mansion's next door, but do you see how it's like
that's the fence?
The fence just looks
like another building almost.
It looks like another building, a 3-walled building made of wood. Yeah. And see it was so tall that it needed those like supports. They had like supporting it with wood.
Wait, so that thing just surrounded his house?
Yeah.
But it was on
insane. Crocker's land. It was on Crocker's land. And it was 100% legal. There was nothing that said you couldn't do this. It was his land. And
it's also funny because I wonder how much of this is like the law said that was legal because no one thought that someone would be that stupid and petty.
That's how it started in England. They were like, why would anyone block the light? And then someone did, and they were like, wow.
I guess we have to write a law about this now because you can't use your own brains, you idiots.
Someone's that petty? Oh. When I get into spite houses sometime, there are some just chef's kiss perfect stories.
Okay.
that are to be told. But anyway, so Young's garden died, and the whole family was like, "This? Are you kidding?" Yeah. And the city officials were like, "There's nothing we can do. He owns the land, and there's no rules that say you can't block somebody's view completely." So everyone was mad. First of all, Young was pissed, and he was like, I'm still not going to leave, by the way. I'm going to put up a flagpole with a skull and crossbones because I want you to have to look at that every day.
Yes.
I don't know if he ever did it. He did say, here's my plan. I'm going to put up a huge flag with a pirate flag on it.
Yeah.
And he also wanted to put a coffin on his roof to advertise his business. And also just piss Crocker off every time he looked out the window. But he's not the only one that was mad. It was 1870s. Everyone was like dirt poor or mega wealthy, you know?
Yeah.
And so there was this high unemployment, and they see this spite fence go up, and it pisses everyone off. They're like, "Are you kidding? Why would like even
that's
the other
what you're using your money for?"
Yeah, even the other billionaires were like, "Come on, man."
This is not a good look for us.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
And
don't build a
the
spaceship
media,
just for yourself to go to the moon. Like, just
right.
maybe give people like a bonus, it's not a good
Pay
look.
your workers. Yeah. Don't block out the sun.
Even if you don't like them, just do it so they don't kill you and decapitate you.
You don't have to like people.
Yeah. You don't have to agree with fair wages. Exactly. You just have to be worried about them murdering you and chopping off your head.
It is so out of touch. Like, billionaires are so out of touch. So the media was also on Young's side for the most part. They called it Crocker's crime. They called the wall Crocker's crime because they were like, this thing is ugly, first of all. And just a couple of years later, Nicholas Young dies.
Oh no!
Of old age. He was older.
Okay.
And Charles Crocker was just ecstatic. William, not Charles. William Crocker was ecstatic because he was like, certainly now I will be able to buy out Young's family.
Nope.
Absolutely not. His widow, Rosina, was like, no, never.
Shit.
Yes. And she's like, I don't care. I'm moving out of this house because it's unlivable, but I will never sell this land. And so she let the land kind of just go. Like they ripped the house down, and then the lot became like an ugly vacant lot full of garbage. And like,
nice.
She didn't care about keeping it up because that would piss him off.
I'd like to think that there's like, considering that it's next to a railroad baron's home, I want there to be like, what do they call them? Like tramps and hobos that like rode the railways. Like dudes that showed up with like a stick with like all their stuff tied up into a bandana at the end of it. Where they have with the fingerless gloves, and they're like, hey, making fires inside of like barrels and stuff.
Barrels,
and just like, I'm going to eat a leather shoe today.
I'm all out of beans. I'm going to eat a leather shoe. So she was just as stubborn as her husband. Sounds amazing. These people sound amazing. And
dream couple.
And so Rosina was like, absolutely not. And at that point, they ended up having to cut the fence in half because the winds almost blew it over. And
that's awesome. I wish it would have blown into their building and destroyed it.
But it also became this huge tourist attraction. Like, it got out, and everyone's like, I want to go see this big dumb spite wall. And it like people came from all over to like check it out and learn about this guy who was so petty that he built this fence, not wall.
Come see the boy who has too much money and not enough maturity.
And no one really loves him, so he has to do it.
Unlovable man stands behind this fence. It's like a zoo of his own making.
He's just cursing everybody as they stare at him.
Don't worry, folks. It's electrified. He can't get out and spite you.
A billionaire zoo.
Yeah.
A human zoo for billionaires. Yikes.
I mean, that's basically
those
what
words together.
Is.
Yeah. It's true. So 7 years later, Crocker himself died.
Nice. And that's my favorite part of the story so far.
It weirdly gets better. So she outlasted him, and she held on to the land. And Crocker's children then took up the fight to get that land from Rosina. And she was like, are you kidding? Have you not gotten it yet? I'm not giving this away, like, over my dead body. And she did die. And she never gave in. She died in 1902. And her children, her and Nicholas's children, were like, okay, we just can't, we don't have it in us. Like, we just...
I mean, at that point, they're not living there.
They're not living there.
What does it matter? No, I'm saying, why would they even sell? Just generationally, just be like, listen, this is an important part of our family history. Just don't ever sell this.
Well, they sold it.
Because it pisses somebody off. Oh, no.
They sold it to the Crocker kids. And by then, these two families were like, I don't even know why we hate each other. Like, our parents... Like, it's why... And so they sold it. They sold it for a pretty good amount of money, too. But it was all for nothing. Because just a few years later, in 1906, the Great San Francisco earthquake happens.
Oh, no. If they had just held out, it would have just gotten destroyed.
Oh, it gutted the Crocker mansion.
That's awesome.
It leveled it. That thing was gone. And all the neighboring buildings, everything caught on fire. The whole of Nob Hill, all these palatial mansions got gutted. I know.
It's probably the only good thing that came out of that.
Yeah. And the Crocker children were like, well, I don't want to rebuild. And so they donated the entire block of their property to charity, like a charitable donation to the city. And now, Grace Cathedral is there.
Oh, interesting.
Have you been there? It's a beautiful building.
It's possible I don't remember.
They built
probably
famous
not. I don't know.
Grace Cathedral. Yeah, you'd recognize it if you saw it. So now Nob Hill has a really pretty cathedral. And famously, the city of San Francisco rebuilt like record pace after the earthquake.
Yeah.
Because they wanted to get everything done for the World's Fair that was coming there.
Always a World's Fair in all these stories.
Always.
It's always like the World's Fair is about to come. Bring them back.
Hurry, murder a bunch of girls, build the city again. I don't know.
If there was just some sort of a World's Fair that took place in San Francisco and right between San Francisco and LA, that high-speed rail would be done immediately.
It would be done so fast.
Although, to be fair, they're not slow because they're not able to make it. It's slow because there's so many stupid lawsuits that are pointless and dragged out.
And lobbyists and people that own car companies do not want high-speed rails. Okay?
That's on the record, by the way. That's not even like a conspiracy. He literally said that.
That is what he said. Also, go back to like Henry Ford, and he lobbied Congress to shut down railroads. Like, we used to have rail systems that no longer exist. No one knows that. Anyway, love it. So they rebuilt in record time. And my favorite part of this story is that all that racism toward the Chinese laborers, it really backfired on everybody because after the earthquake, Chinatown was destroyed. And they were like, you know what? Now's our chance to get these guys out of here. And Chinatown, the citizens of Chinatown were like, absolutely not. We have rifles and we can defend ourselves. Like literally we're like, we'll kill you. This is our city too. We contribute a ton to the economy.
Yeah.
We have an entire
the culture of the city.
If we left,
I mean, I guess now at this point,
who would build your crap, you know?
Yeah.
And also, the San Francisco earthquake, all the records got destroyed in the record offices.
Oh, no shit.
So all these Chinese immigrants who were not allowed to have citizenship were now like, well, you don't know if I'm a citizen or not. And they had this like massive like, okay, fine, you're all citizens. And they rebuilt Chinatown despite everyone trying to stop them. And they rebuilt it bigger and more beautiful than it was. Well, arguably. Cool. It's like twice the size as it was because they were like, oh, we'll rebuild. And I just love that at the end, the Chinese laborers were like, screw you. And that mansion burned down. And that's my tab.
Listen, the moral of the story here is that no matter what your plans are, no matter how much money you have, Mother Earth doesn't give two shits.
You'll die like everyone else.
That is my favorite part.
Your house will burn like everyone else's. That's the thing. And
just like every human that came before you, you will die. So might as well not be an asshole to people. Apparently, that's too complicated of a lesson.
It's going to embalm you the same way as he does everybody else.
No, that was great. I love it. I love hearing a bit of San Francisco history like that.
Me too. It's one of those things where, like, when you're from around here, you don't really sit to think about it. And I mean, I did because my mom was always like, by the way, this, by the way, that. But I just love the idea of this being a place where people immigrate. And I mean, not, everyone's been driven out of the city now, unless you're like, tech workers. But it's a place to come because you have nowhere else to go or because you want to completely start over. And that's why we have like Castro Street, like one of the best LGBTQ districts in the world is because people were like, there's nowhere else to go. We're going to go west because San Francisco is chill with most things. Yeah. And it's a really great city. And screw the rich people, dude. Screw them. They are the worst. They don't care about you. They don't care about anybody but themselves. Amen.
But they make really cool, really tall buildings that sink.
They do.
So,
they do.
Good for them. With walking gardens, which is lovely. I love it. I love looking at a walking garden in a building that's sinking. Instead of sinking? If anybody, there's a bunch of them that are all sinking because they're all terrible. You don't know. Like you're not meant to do huge skyscrapers like that in San Francisco, you idiots.
Right.
Fighting God once again.
But in the end, Mother Nature will kill you. So
always wins.
Don't forget.
That was awesome. I loved it.
Thanks. What do you got for me today?
That's funny that you... Hold on, let me switch this over.
Is there like overlap?
I'm like, oh, mine's also about the spite fence. No, I'm kidding. No, mine... Okay, so you and I, Hannah, we are both authors.
Yes. Sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
You're like, we did.
Technically, I've written a book. Yeah.
Yes, we're both authors. We've written books.
Yeah.
And if there's something that I know that you absolutely know, It is that you cannot help but write yourself into your material.
I wish I could. I wish I could not write myself in, but yeah.
Yeah, whether it's literally you, in your case, you were the main character of your own book.
Or figuratively you, in your case.
Right. Or I also, don't forget, I was also in the Avocado Chronicles strip that was literally just me.
That's right.
It's always going to be there. It's either literally you, or it's like some personification of a part of you. It's just, in many cases, very unavoidable. You're going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what today's subject, John Orr, did when writing his debut novel.
Okay. John Orr. This name sounds kind of familiar, but I think I just might have read about him with this name.
In 1991, John was a model employee at his day job. He was well respected, but he still felt a little bit empty. He longed for something more.
Who among us?
So at night, he began taking a fiction writing course at the nearby Glendale Community College.
Oh,
there, he learned all the principles of what makes a good story, plot twists, interesting characters, and where to find inspiration. And he really enjoyed it. He took to it like a fish in water. And suddenly, he's writing and writing and writing, and it's going great. He loves it. He's enjoying it. And with that outpouring of material, he's able to write his novel called Points of Origin.
Okay.
Have you heard of Points of Origin?
No.
Points of Origin is a cat and mouse thriller between the hero, Phil, a tenacious gun-pack and arson investigator in L.A., and the villain, Aaron, a socially stunted pyromaniac who finds sexual arousal in the blazes he sets and uses his specialized knowledge as a veteran firefighter to escape detection.
So a guy with an arson kink versus a detective who's investigating fires? Oh, a firefighter. Yeah. Okay.
So this leads to the question. Which one of the characters was John?
No. Uh-oh. You're going to tell me, huh?
Do you want to know the answer?
Yeah.
He was both.
Duh. Why did I even think that you weren't going to say that? Of course. That's why. Okay. All right.
Anyway, the reason I said it connected is because mine's also about local history, which I thought was interesting.
And fire. There's fire in this, too.
Listen, it's on my mind. It's all I'm talking about. It's all we're reading about. I'm sure that I think the main article that I pulled this from is in the LA Times, but it's on everyone's mind. So John Leonard Orr,
understandably. Okay.
John Leonard Orr was born in 1949, and he grew up in nearby Highland Park. And there's not a whole lot written about his upbringing, but we know that he served in the Air Force, and when he got out, old Johnny really, really, really wanted to be a cop.
Isn't that just that pipeline from Air Force from Army to cop, man? I don't know.
And he tried his damnedest to get hired as one. Unfortunately,
they didn't let him in.
The LAPD's psych test found him unstable, quote unquote.
They have a psych test?
Apparently, or they did back in the 70s.
Seems like they don't anymore. Wow. Maybe put that in there again. He couldn't even become a cop? That's hard to get. That's hard to not be able to become a cop. Just saying.
Then he tried the LA Fire Department, but they declared him too physically unfit, which is harsh.
They're like, your brain's bad and you got a bad body.
Additionally, he had a bit of prince hands, as my mom likes to say about me, as I've told you before.
Yep. Wait, what does she say in Farsi? Isn't it something in Farsi?
No, it was not in Farsi. Just it's like that.
The hands of a prince.
Just hands of a prince because they're soft. She's just like, it's obvious you've never really worked with your hands. Obviously, other than drawing. But as I sit here with my scarf. Ed Nortskog, a former coworker of John, said, quote, "He's not a big, rugged fireman. He's pudgy, he's prissy, fastidious, and neat. Doesn't go in for the pranking and hijinks that firemen do. So he doesn't get along with these guys."
Wait. I didn't know that pranking and hijinks was part of being a fireman.
I've heard that actually before.
I guess you gotta you're hanging out at the firehouse and you gotta do something to
We're playing grab ass a lot. Yeah, trying to make the time pass. So, to recap, he's mentally unstable, he's high maintenance, and he can't take a joke. So, in 1974, the Glendale Fire Department. Yeah, exactly.
Delightful person.
In 74, the Glendale Fire Department is like, "You son of a bitch, you're hired. We'll take it."
Jeez, okay.
And Johnny rises pretty quickly through the ranks, specifically showing a knack for investigating arson cases.
Okay.
Eventually, he rose to the rank of captain. And in his office, get this, he had a cigarette box adorned with a skull and crossbones. Because he super hated smoking and kept it there as a reminder because somebody took the DARE program way too seriously.
That is, I cannot believe I'm saying this. That is the lamest thing I've heard this entire podcast. That is so lame. And I'm including like all the lame people we talked about. That's so lame. Ew, I would want to like beat him up in school. I'd be like, this too. Kid? He's like sucking up to like the DARE, the person who comes in with the DARE, the police officer with the DARE stuff.
Yep. Cigarette box adorned with a skull and crossbones in his office. To remind
him that it's bad.
That smoking is bad.
Great.
And he took it too seriously, but guess what? That's just what they needed. Because by the time the 80s rolled around, there was an insane wave of fires set across Southern California.
Okay.
Probably because the earth was trying to destroy itself after seeing Ronald Reagan in sweatpants, but I digress.
Yeah, the sweatpants wanted to leave so badly that...
They just hated it.
They hated it. But yeah, the earth wanted to explode after that.
It was not happy. On October 10th, 1984, a fire broke out. I believe it's Ole's Home Center. It's O-L-E. I keep wanting to read it as Ole, but that's not what it is.
It's a Danish name, I think.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, it's Ola. Yeah. I'm pretty sure it's a Danish or a Swedish name.
Okay. Ola's Home Center hardware store.
Only know this from family history because it's Olsen. Olesen.
Anyway. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Again, I took the Spanish thing where I was like, it's Ole. No,
Ole, yeah.
Ole. Ola, you're saying?
Ola, yeah. I guess. Ola. Or it could be Ole. I don't know.
Probably Ola's Home Center hardware store in South Pasadena. There's a fire that breaks out. Tragically, it kills 4 people.
Oh.
17-year-old Jimmy Satina, 26-year-old Carolyn Krause, 50-year-old Ada Deal, and her 2-year-old grandson Matthew.
No.
That's
sad. So sad.
After they put the fire out, investigators originally thought it was an accident ignited by John Orr's nemesis, a common household cigarette.
That 2-year-old should not have been smoking in that building.
I was going to say, remember, up until like 5 years ago, people were like chain smoking everywhere and just throwing butts left and right.
I don't think Gen Z knows that there used to be that people would just smoke in restaurants
all the time, like, on airplanes.
Go to the like I always associated like there was a certain smell of like airplane seat that had like smoke in it. You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
because there used to be cloth too.
There used to be and you'd be like, this whole plane is just imbued with smoke, and then literally everywhere you could smoke anywhere.
You could smoke anywhere constantly. I think I remember reading somewhere, I don't know if it's true, I never actually fact checked it, but they say that like if you look at photos from arenas in the 70s and 80s, like basketball photos, and there's like that weird blue light, like that blue like filter, not filter, but like that blue haze around it. It's just all from people smoking inside.
Oh, that's what that is.
That's what they said. I can't confirm.
Basketball in a cloud of other people's cigarettes.
Other people's cigarettes. So that's why they were so good.
That's hardcore.
Yeah, it's hardcore. It's also still crazy to me that cars came with literally built-in cigarette lighters.
Yeah,
that's how much people used to smoke.
You gotta smoke in your car, and then here's the weird thing about that, and then they got changed to being supposed to charge your phone.
Yeah,
that was crazy. It makes sense.
You know what? That is a bit of social commentary on the nature of addiction. We used to be smoking cigarettes. Now we're on our phones all the time.
You're right.
Just put that together right
deep.
now.
That's like Banksy level deep.
Yeah, I'm like Banksy. Anyway, so John, he was like, it wasn't just a cigarette because John was built different. He had like ESPN or something.
Pudgy,
he was like, he had like a preternatural understanding of how fire started.
Oh no.
And so he came onto the scene and he's like rubbing his hands with lotion. He's like drinking a cappuccino instead of black coffee like everyone else.
Tosses his scarf over one shoulder.
Yeah, tosses his scarf. And even though there's like a box of donuts, he brought a cornetto and he's like nibbling on it with like a single finger. And everyone's like, why did you bring a croissant? We had donuts.
We're firefighters. We eat donuts.
Exactly. We eat donuts. And he's like, excuse me, this is not a croissant. This is a cornetto. It's Italian, you country bumpkins. Scoff.
A croissant. Oh. I used to work at a bakery and this fully American dude would come in like once a week and order a croissant. Every time. And it wasn't even right. Like I had a coworker who spoke French, and she was like, "He's
You're
not
like,
even
sir,
saying
this is a scone." Yeah,
it was a croissant from like a frozen croissant from a bag. And he's like, "I will get a croissant." And I'm like, "Bro, here's your croissant." Like, freaking.
That's basically him. So, you know, he's like walking around. He's like looking at the scene, sort of like Aragorn in the Two Towers. And he's like, oh, there was a struggle and they fled and the fire spread here and blah, 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 blah. And he like recreates the whole thing. Then he kicks a helmet and breaks his toe. And he's like, okay, whatever. I figured it out.
Did you know he really kicked that helmet? And he really
never heard that before. Yeah. That's why that scream is so good. Anyway, moral of the story, he's right. He figures it out. It was not an accident. It started when the cigarette spread fire to a nearby pack of matches that had some yellow legal paper around it. And bada bing, bada boom, the whole place is engulfed in flames. Someone did it on purpose. It was arson. And the fires continue. And soon, investigators noticed a pattern. They were always started by a combination of cigarettes, matches, and yellow paper.
Interesting.
And this sucks for the terrified citizens of Southern California, but for John, this is great. Oh my God, that's so funny. The line I wrote in here was literally, death is great for mortuaries.
Perfect.
And fires are great for arson. That's so funny. I didn't even realize that until right now. Death is great for mortuaries and fires are great for arson investigators, right? Business is booming for him.
Well, yeah.
And even though he's annoying as shit and sitting in the non-smoking section of a fancy sushi restaurant, John is pretty well respected for being good at his job.
Well, yeah, you could hate someone, but if they're magical at their job, it's like, well,
he's
yeah,
really
I guess
good
we
at
have
it.
to
That's
put
the
up
problem.
with it.
Yeah. And in order to make sure his accomplishments remained firmly on the record, he wrote articles for the American Fire Journal about how good at his job he was and in catching serial arsonists and explored their methods and psychology. I imagine that this is where the first sparks of his writing career begin.
Nicholas Sparks.
Nicholas Sparks.
That's what I thought.
that was his pen name. He was Nicholas Sparks.
He's Nicholas Sparks. Good for him.
Love a good romance. Pretty soon, John was invited to sit at the cool kids table of various arson investigators conferences where I imagine they're all dining on blackened fish.
Oh, or they're like, I'll trade you this from my lunch. I don't remember.
Blackened fish was like one of the big things. That's true. I was famously born in 1945, so I fully remember the 80s. No, blackened fish was like the hip thing to eat, aside from, ironically, and the other thing was sushi. So it was raw fish or blackened fish. Anyway, he becomes a bit of like a little celeb in the scene.
Oh, man, about the fire industry town or whatever.
And at one such conference in Fresno in 1987, there was a cluster of suspicious fires nearby that took out a family bargain center, a Payless drugstore, and Hancock Fabrics. And I know what you're thinking, and the answer is no, it was not the Fresno Nightcrawlers. They're cool and they're harmless, so stop fear-mongering.
Fine, okay? I'm going to leave sponsorship
the Fresno Nightcrawlers alone.
From the anti-Fresno Light Nightcrawlers Association. So yeah, fine, they're fine. I do like them. They're cute.
They're cute. I love them. I put them in my book. It was probably Mothman's Compendium of Southern California Cryptids, available now on blacksmithfilms.com. Go get your copy today. It was probably just a coincidence. And also, John was like, dude, the fact that the fires happened while all the investigators were at the conference actually proves that it wasn't any of us, because if we'd been out like investigating the fires, this never would have happened. So actually, and
everyone's like, we weren't asking if it was one of you.
Yeah. He's like, so actually, we need to hire more investigators to prevent something like this from ever happening again.
Oh boy.
But a fire captain from Bakersfield named Marvin Casey wasn't convinced.
Interesting.
He had found what they call an incendiary device outside a different craft mart, which was, predictably...
Craft marts? Those places are great.
I think because they're highly flammable, I imagine. They're just like filled with paper.
Yeah, you're right. It's a bunch of flammable stuff.
But the incendiary device he found had the same pattern. Cigarette with some matches and yellow paper.
He linked the two. He linked them to the Southern California ones.
Same as the Ole Mart.
Ole.
What was it? Ole?
Dude,
Ola. The Ola Mart. Luckily, this one even had fingerprints on it, but they couldn't figure out whose it was.
It could be Ole, by the way. You just say Ole.
Ole. Well, there's no accent on the E, so I don't think it was Ole.
Okay.
But Ola. But whatever. It's fine. The 80s keep on going. You know, Steve Jobs introduces the world to the first Macintosh.
The 80s push on at an insane speed.
Yeah. Steve Jobs introduces the world to the first Macintosh. Guns N' Roses takes over the Sunset Strip. And Reagan sends Rumsfeld to lend Saddam a hand in using chemical weapons against the Iranian people on a daily basis. Thumbs up. Thanks, guys.
That's never going to come back to...
Yeah.
Wow. Why did I not know about that? The detail... Oh, my...
When it comes to those things. And then people are like, why are Middle Eastern people so mad?
Accusing me of not... Okay, all right.
No reason. No reason. Because you were in on it. That's why, Hannah.
How did you know that I was Ronald Reagan's right-hand man?
Listen, I'm gonna drop a bit of knowledge to all of our audience right now. Hannah's middle name, her maiden name, is actually Rumsfeld.
I wish I had that money. No, I don't.
Hannah Rumsfeld Hallam.
Hallam. Rumsfeld. That's an ugly name. I hate that man. Dude, I hate that whole thing. I hate every single person.
I'm so happy he's dead. All of them. Anyway, amongst all this that's happening is the next arson con, as I like to call it, in Monterey.
Okay.
And John's super excited for this one. He's like, oh, I love staying in Cannery Row and reading Steinbeck with a chilled glass of rosé till the sun comes up. Isn't that delightful?
Ugh.
And everyone's like, eye roll, dude. Would you please just eat a steak? I hate you.
Eat regular food and stop wearing that scarf. I'm really bringing the scarf into this because you're wearing one right now.
I have a scarf on, and I also have a scarf on my chair. I'm just double scarf right now. But wouldn't you know it? At ArsonCon in Monterey, there's another set of suspicious fires that happen around that area.
How could that happen? That's so crazy.
A coincidence.
It's a good thing there are a bunch of firefighters in the area.
They're going to find out. They're going to get to the bottom of it. And
this
again, Marvin Casey's like, dude.
If this is going the way I think it's going, this is insane.
Yep.
Woo! Okay.
And Marvin Casey's like, bro, this is sus. So
yeah.
What does he do? He busts out the guest list of the last couple conferences.
Yes, I love this man.
And he makes the calculation that whoever it was probably an arson investigator because they're the most knowledgeable about fire. Sidebar, which I had to look up. The conferences also included lawyers and insurance investigators. So it wasn't just arson investigators. It was a whole mishmash of people.
Okay.
Furthermore, whoever's doing it is probably alone and they're single because if you've got a wife and kids, you ain't got time to be setting fires and shit. You got to go to Long's Drugs at 11:30 at night to buy your idiot kid a poster board for his stupid book report that's due tomorrow that he'll inevitably fail at because he didn't even finish the book. But guess what? He's a good artist and he comes up with an idea to make a poster that incorporates a pop-out 3D element, and his classmates and teacher are so distracted by it that they fail to notice his multiple plot holes and an incomplete summary of the book, and he does get a good grade. Thank you. That's a true story.
That is almost identical to the time I made a snail racing track because I wanted to make one and not because it was the science fair. I built a science hypothesis around me just wanting to race snails. Dude, that's amazing. You made a pop out. That's amazing.
I had to remember what it was. I don't have pictures of it, unfortunately.
What was it? I know, but what was it about?
The book was, I'll send you the cover because I was like, I remembered this. It was R.L. Stein's The Beast.
Oh,
which is
I
not even
this cover. Yeah,
it was not it was interesting because it was a non-Goosebumps R.L. Stein
it's not
book.
Goosebumps. Weird.
Anyway, I didn't even finish it, but I just really sat and drew the book and drew the thing instead.
Dude, that is the way I got into college. They're like, your grades are bad, but you can draw. Like, dope.
Anyway, so Marv cross-references the guest list and narrows it down to 10 dudes, one of whom was your boy. John Orr,
Ronald Reagan, John Orr,
Ronald Reagan, and Donald Rumsfeld, and Saddam Hussein. We're all at that conference together.
They were all at the conference.
Talking about chemical weapons.
They love. They just crave more fire.
John Orr, despite originally having been a family man, had separated from his wife.
Oh, okay.
And Marv puts John's name as a potential suspect, and everyone is like, "Bro, are you out of your mind? There's absolutely no way."
He's our best investigator.
He's literally like the number one dude. By the way, I should show you. I forgot to send you pictures of him. So here's John, like, bringing a hose in to fight a fire.
Oh, geez. Okay. Oh man, he looks insufferable.
Here's him wearing in his Apple outfit with his cap and all that stuff. And this is the Olay market, as we keep calling it now.
Oh, yeah, that market's gutted. Sad. This guy looks like... I already know I don't like him, just based on what you've said, but this really solidifies it. And I don't want to just judge somebody by their looks, and it's not his looks. He has an untrustworthy face.
He looks like a TV. He looks like a movie cop, like with the mustache and everything. He just looks like the guy you would cast as like Chicago cop number 6 that's standing in the background. Yeah,
after like running too much, chasing the guy too much. Wow, I don't like this guy.
So Tom Probst, a fire prevention inspector at the Glendale Fire Department in the 90s, said, quote, "People looked up to him. We just thought, wow, this guy has such knowledge. He was shouting stuff like, we need to get crews above and giving directions. He always knew where the fire hydrants were. He was miraculously fast at finding the causes of fires. He could dig through the ashes, narrow it down, and be like, and we'd all be like, man, you're so good." So when Marv has this proposition that he's like, I think it's John, he's essentially laughed out of the room.
Yeah.
But like you and me, being laughed at doesn't scare Marv, and it only makes him more stubborn.
Laughing means nothing to me.
Exactly. I'm like, I've been laughed at my whole life.
Yeah, of course. I'm a fool.
What you should worry about is when you don't laugh at me. That's when I really melt down.
I fall apart. If someone doesn't laugh, I'm like, I'm going to walk into traffic.
Yeah.
So you could argue that laughing means everything to me.
Exactly.
But,
it's the not laughing. Yeah.
It's the silence.
It's the silence.
Oh.
So this finally culminates in 1991 when another bunch of arson cases pop up in LA County. And this leads to the creation of a task force of local cops and agents from the ATF.
So this was like, how long did this span? So like it was the
about
early
8 years.
80s? 8 years.
Yeah,
okay.
it's like 84 to like 91.
Oh, okay.
And the ATF, being a bigger federal agency, brought more sophisticated tools to the game.
Ooh.
And they were able to ID the Craft Mart prints that Marv had found at this point now, like a couple years earlier.
Okay.
And this is my favorite part. They identified it as ore. But the guys at the lab were like, stupid John probably contaminated the evidence when he was trying to set like the time on his swatch or something.
That's insane. They had proof and they were still like, there's no way.
So when they finally bring it back, all of a sudden everybody at the ATF was like, WTF?
Nice one. Nice.
But basically they're like, oh shit. And they start to put 2 and 2 together. And the task force quietly pushed forward with their investigation into John in secret. They just siloed it off and they like couldn't tell anybody that that's what they were doing. And it's right around this time that John was in that class that I mentioned at the top of the tab.
Between setting fires and fighting fires, he has time to write a book, a little novel.
Points of origin.
Yep. Points of origin. Okay.
Points of origin. Eventually, enough evidence was gathered and John was charged with a whole bunch of shit.
They charged him. Okay.
They charged him. They basically implicated him in the fires and also the deaths of those 4 people that died. Yeah.
This is since he murdered people.
Yeah.
That was... who hurt him?
He was taken to court where points of origin was introduced as part of his conviction. It was more or less a thinly veiled confession of all the fires he had started.
What an idiot. Oh, what a stupid idiot. Kate, did he think? What was he thinking?
I don't think he was.
Was he that confident? That's the thing. Sometimes people who are like sociopathic are like so confident they don't have any idea. They don't see how anyone could ever catch them.
It's so compartmentalized. Here's my favorite. In it, there's a chapter that describes a fire set at a Pasadena hardware store called Cal's, in which Aaron puts a slow-burning incendiary device made from a cigarette and a rubber band into polyurethane foam cushions, setting off a fire that traps several employees and 2 characters, Madeline Paulson and her 3-year-old grandson, Matthew. Quote from the book. The last thing she heard was a tremendous roar as the fire burned through the roof and vented to the outside. The smoke momentarily lifted, but was then replaced by solid fire as the entire contents of the annex exploded into flames. Their last breaths were of 800-degree heat that seared their throats closed.
This is disgusting.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
Wait, I just remembered that the character in the book gets off on this. Oh, no. Okay. Okay, what's next?
Orr defended his novel, calling it, quote, a fact-based work that follows the pattern of an actual arsonist that has been setting serial fires in California over the past 8 years. Which, on the surface, you could make that argument. You're like, he's the guy. He's literally the lead investigator. I mean, you could absolutely make an argument being like, this is the lead investigator of the case. This guy knows all this work, all the case material intimately. He literally wrote the reports. He wrote all the reports in that magazine and whatever, like the fire magazine. So it's like, okay, that's just an extrapolation of it, of just trying to make it like, oh, we'll change it, blah, 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 because it's interesting, because sometimes truth is stranger than fiction, of course. But prosecutors argued the pattern of fires described therein, quote, bears striking similarities to the pattern of charged and uncharged fires alleged in the case. These similarities reflect knowledge beyond that which Orr could have reasonably obtained as an arson investigator. Like, so essentially, paper, he accidentally showed his hand by like solving a bunch of unsolved arsons.
It's like a serial killer being like, and here's where this pretend serial killer buried this pretend body. And it's like, nah, you just gave it away.
Yeah. So they looked through it and they were like,
psycho.
Oh, yep.
So he pretty much just like, oh, by the way, here's some more. Well, just... Oh, my goodness.
Ultimately, Orr was convicted and given a 30-year federal prison term and soon pleaded guilty to 3 other federal counts of arson, including, crucially, to dropping an incendiary device at Builder's Emporium in North Hollywood in 1990, which made some cross-county something or other. I don't understand. I'm not a lawyer, but that was like an important part of it.
Dude.
In total, investigators believe Orr started more than 2,000 fires throughout California between 1984 and 1991. And put the cost of Orr's arson in the tens of millions.
2,000? More than 2,000 fires?
Allegedly,
Where did he find the time? Was his life just revolved around setting fires, right?
Basically, that's all he's doing. That's why his marriage didn't work out. Instead of lighting a fire in the bedroom, he was lighting a fire in...
A literal one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Orr is still alive and he's in jail, but he continues to assert his innocence.
Oh, okay.
Now, you're probably wondering about the book. It was published.
Oh, no. Okay, what am I about to see?
Unfortunately, I looked far and wide and I could not find a PDF of it.
That's the ugliest cover. That is the ugliest cover I've ever seen. It's like, my passion is graphic design. Oh. Oh. Points of origin. Playing with fire. John L. Orr. Oh, and it's like these it's like clip art fire surrounding a fireman's badge. It looks like a website from 1998.
It does. You're right. Yeah, I think 2002 is when it was published.
Yeah. Okay.
Sadly, I found this one fact out way too late that there was a TV movie made about this story starring Ray Liotta, R.I.P.
and John Leguizamo.
Oh,
Point of Origin.
It was a TV movie. Insane. Apparently, it's not bad. I looked it up. It is available on YouTube. I wish I had gotten a chance to watch it before we did the tab, but I found out way too late.
Oh, we got to add it to our list of things to watch.
List of movies to watch.
Okay, so wait, did he... I'm still thinking about the arson kink. Did he get... Was it like a sexual thing for him?
I think so.
That's gross.
I think so. Again, he denies all of this.
Okay.
He denies all of it. And normally I'm not into... I didn't go into any of that shit because I'm not really a true crime guy, but... I thought this was interesting because of the fire part and because of like the context of what's happening right now. And it was weird. But moral of the story here is don't draw from your own life as inspiration when writing a book if you are in fact a criminal.
A criminal. Oof.
Write something else. Don't write what you know.
Yeah, for once. Okay, that's wild. I wonder how many times this happens. Do you know what I mean?
I'm sure
like
it happens
where
all the time.
We just they cover their tracks too well. Where this is like genuinely something, because this is such a human thing where it's like he obviously needs something, you know.
Yeah.
That. Yeah. The law, the praise of other people, and to feel smart, and what a better way to do that than make your own problems to solve, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's my tab.
John Orr. Oh.
John Orr.
That's also really sad that those people died.
It is very sad.
What a psycho!
Yeah,
mine is mind-boggling. I'm still trying to wrap my head around this guy. Like, okay, wow. I want to know what else he burned. Nah, I can go look it
I
up.
don't know. I mean, I think if you read the book, it's all in there. It'll tell you every single thing burned.
I'm not going to read the book. Should we start a book club?
We should start a book club.
500 open books.
500 open books. I don't have any.
Open flames. 500 open flames.
Flames. Just throw me in there. Okay, now it's time to close our tabs. Yeah.
Thank you.
What should we do?
Not fire.
Yeah, I don't really want to do fire.
I guess we could do fire, but it's a little too soon.
Yeah, I don't really want to do that.
We could do someone hammering a railroad spike straight through.
Yeah. Or a kissing sound of, I don't know what, like the railroads docking and kissing each other.
Hang on.
Anyway, whatever. Alyssa, something fun.
Trains crashing into each other.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Okay. You
do the railroad spike. Yeah. Ready?
Yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Close. Nice.
All right, moving on to listener emails. You're up first.
Mine comes from Blake from Seattle. Dear Hannah and Kaveh, this is Blake from Seattle. I just caught up to the show after binging both Musical Splaining and 500 Open Tabs.
That's a lot of episodes.
It's a lot of your voice. This dude's been
listening
I'm
so sorry.
to your voice for like months on end. Oh. Isn't that weird to think about?
That's so terrible. That's like what my wife has to go through, unfortunately, for her.
Bless her. and wanted to write in. The tab I'm writing in about involves the 14-foot headless statue of Vladimir Lenin in Las Vegas that used to give me nightmares. I got curious about its background when I saw that it was no longer there during my last trip. Prior to that, it had been in front of the Red Square restaurant, which is like, they had a restaurant called the Red Square. Anyway. And bar at the Mandalay Bay Resort since 1999. After doing some research, I learned that it apparently used to be complete with Lenin's head, but when people complained about the communist iconography, the restaurant owners responded by chopping off the head and making the statue look like it was covered in bird poop. The head
totally
was then
normal reaction.
Totally. Oh, just wait. The head was then strung over the statue until it mysteriously disappeared. Soon after, it was returned to the restaurant anonymously and showcased inside a block of ice until it closed in 2019.
Sure, okay.
You look weary.
Why not?
I was glad to learn the story behind what I initially thought was a headless vampire trying to eat me, and now can rest easily with one less tab and nightmare. Thanks for bringing fun knowledge and stories to the podcast every week. I've been trying to tell all my friends about it too. Keep it Josie, Blake. Thanks you for telling your friends. And the picture, I didn't put it in there. Dang it.
Oh, I can click on the link and look at it.
Oh, I was just about to send you a
Stone
picture.
of the Blarney. Oh, that's a decapitated Lenin.
It does look like a vampire though. He's wearing like old-timey clothes, and so it's like looks kind of like Dracula or something. And I just love how they didn't just treat it normally. They didn't take the statue down. They beheaded it, strung the head up, and then put it in a block of ice? That's insane.
I guess they were worried about what the reaction might be from the communists of America. Who knows?
Yeah. Okay, well, what do you got?
Email number 2 is from Jude from Connecticut.
Hi, Jude.
Hey, Jude in Connecticut.
Jade's they've never heard that before.
Never heard it. Hi, Hannah and Kaveh.
We said that last time they wrote in, by the way.
Did we?
Edit that out.
Forgot.
Yes.
I've never made that joke in my entire life. Long-time listener, second-time emailer. It's literally right there in the first line. I wanted to comment. I wanted to comment on what Hannah said during her Aristotle's Masterpiece tab. Hannah, you are right that basketball wasn't invented until 1891 by Dr. James Naismith. Naismith. I'm not a sports ball fan, but he invented it in Springfield, Massachusetts, and I know this because I went to Smith College nearby in Northampton, Massachusetts. Smith, a women's college, is where the first game of women's basketball was played. I thought this tab would be relevant since you were joking about, quote, medieval women breaking their hymens while playing basketball, end quote. That's the kind of brilliant writing and jokes you get when you come to this podcast.
That's what you can expect every week after week.
Breaking hymens. In 1893, Senda Berenson, the physical culture director at Smith, learned the game from Naismith and adapted it for her students. She changed the game to be more appropriate for, quote, Victorian ideals of refinement and geniality.
Interesting. I wonder what that means. Put corsets on and play basketball.
I learned about this in a class that was held in Smith College Archives. The archives used to be the college's gymnasium and was actually where the first game was held. I was also aware of the lore behind the invention of basketball because there is the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in Springfield. I've never been to Disney World, but it kind of looks like Epcot next to a tall pole with a basketball on top, which is impossible to not see from the highway. Also, Berenson was the first female inductee into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 1985.
Cool.
Thank you so much for creating a podcast that has brought my very shitty year a lot of comfort. Heart emoji. Jude from Connecticut. Thank you, Jude.
Thanks, Jude. Thanks for writing in.
That was exciting to learn about.
Yeah.
Also, Connecticut was an old stomping ground of mine.
Right.
I don't miss
Didn't you
it.
live there?
Unfortunately.
You lived there for a minute.
Sorry to everybody from Connecticut, but I did not like living in Connecticut.
What,
but
you
I was there.
Being the only minority at your school?
Listen, it was really fun. It led to me being totally normal and well-adjusted. If you too have a tab that you would like to submit, please go ahead and email us at 500opentabs@gmail.com. That's 500. Send us the link. Let us know briefly what you learned about and tell us where you're from. And additionally, if you would like to do a voice memo, around a minute to people in the Discord seem to be stressing out about keeping it under a certain amount, but a minute and a half, let's say 90 seconds tops.
Yeah.
A ballpark. We're just trying to make sure
we're all very long-winded people. I've come to learn that.
If you can keep your tab to under 40 minutes, like Hannah and I, that would be great. We can play it on the show.
Just start your own podcast.
Yes.
And if you want to follow us on Instagram and YouTube, all of that, we're at 500 Open Tabs, 500. And also we have a Patreon and a Discord. The Discord is fun. A bunch of people joined, and we got about almost 300 people in there now. And it's a big fun party. And
They're all trying to figure out what swear words they can use and what swear words they cannot use.
And guess who holds the reins to that? Us. We decide what people can say.
We're so desperate for power.
I got none of it. So we also have a Patreon where I post all the cuts from the episode, and a lot of it's just us being dumb. So it is fun. And
if you need a reprieve from us being not dumb on this podcast,
right?
A lot of us being dumb. It's more of us being dumb. Hannah, use the right words.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're
I'm
also
so dumb.
I'm the dumbest. We're also going to be at Emerald City Comic Con.
Yes, in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
First weekend of March.
3 weeks. Yep.
Yeah. We'll be there. We'll be in Artist Alley. We're also hosting a panel, Escaping the Algorithm. That's going to be on Friday night at 6:45, I believe. Yep. We'll be posting more information about this on the social media accounts. So if you're going to be in Emerald City, please come say hi to us. Come to the panel if you can. Or if you're not going to be at Emerald City, tell whoever you know that's going to Emerald City to go see us, both at the panel and at the table, and tell them to spend their entire fortunes
paycheck
on their entire paycheck on whatever we make.
On artists.
It would be really helpful. We're artists
who make art.
Exactly. We qualify as that.
And if you really like what you hear, we do this podcast because we love it, but also, it's a lot of work. So head to Patreon. Also, I have the table number for our booth.
What are you holding out? Tell them what it is.
Sorry, I'm trying to remember it. Just a sec.
You're like, I just wanted everybody to know that I have the table number. I'm not going to tell them what it is.
It is J7.
J7.
I think. Pretty sure.
John 7,
anyway.
We think. You know what? It doesn't matter. No one ever looks at table numbers. They just walk by and they're like, oh, you're here?
Wait, you did the brain meme?
Yeah. Anyway, yes.
Mothman.
Mothman. And then they just point at it and walk away. We'll be at Emerald City.
Okay, well, thanks, guys.
Emerald City. Also, if you want updates about me, because I have a life outside of this podcast and Hannah, I'm at PermaFriends on Instagram and Covetarian on Blue Sky.
I'm at Hannah on everything. So,
yeah. Thank you guys for listening. Please tell a friend if you enjoyed any of these tabs. Thank you to Alyssa.
Yeah, please.
Thank you to people who around the world are not starting fires. You're doing a really good job.
Yes. Thank you. I just get really sad that we're not somewhere else in the world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That we're watching fascism slowly rise. It's fine.
Nothing matters.
It's kind of real sad, dude. Bye.
Yeah. Anyway, you guys, thanks for listening. Keep it Secundus. Keep it Josie.
Josie Nixon shat 5 times on this phone. Sorry, Josie. I'm kidding.
Keep it Josie, everybody. Keep it Secundus.
Bye.
Keep it Secundus. Bye!
Oh, I already said bye.
Bye!